Hey there, Kimbra. Hi, everyone. Today we are going to talk about how men and women handle breakups differently. We've all been through breakups. Everybody's had a breakup where either it was you causing it or the other person causing it. Either way, it's not pleasant. It's not fun. And Kimbra and I were talking about it because we have friends that are going through breakups, and we were just thinking, why do men handle it so differently? And we both have pretty much the same observations. I talked to a friend of mine who's a marriage and family counselor last night about it, and she said, the same thing that we as women know. We vent, we call our girlfriends, we cry, we have some drinks, and then pretty soon we just get over it. We just move on. And with men, it seems like they immediately skip over the emotional part because men are taught not to be as emotional, not emotional creatures. So they bury it and go on with life. And then it comes out later. And that's why a lot of times the guy comes back wanting you back. And you're like, oh, I've moved on. This is way old news. I'm over you.
Yeah.
So I think that's what happens a lot. What do you think? I mean, right?
Yeah, I think that women, what it depends how supportive your friends are, but most women have a group of, friends that they can talk to, and immediately we call them up and, talk and talk and talk. And usually the friend gets sick of you talking about it so much, right? It's like, but then with men, what they do with their guy friends is like, woohoo, I'm free. It's like they're gonna go to the bar, they're gonna do this, they're gonna like, I'm free of the old ball and chain, it's like,
Yep.
and so they look at it as a joyous event, where then like 1 or 2 months, and I'm generalizing, of course, but
Right.
If you like our videos, go ahead and click on like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Thanks.
1 or 2 months later, depending on how, then it hits them. But with women, we kind of it seems like we do the painful part first and we kind of process it,
Mhm.
and that's the great thing about being a woman, which men could do this too. But, we talk about it, we digest and we process it, and that's why we can purge it, if you will, and
Well, a little bit of this whatever psychological aspect of it is, men are taught not to be emotional, be a big boy, be brave. We send them off to war. You can't be emotional and think about what you're doing, fighting a war. Most men are our protectors. And so they, in a way, have to numb their emotions. And it protects them because they wouldn't be able to do the things that they do. So I think in a way, it's not fair to men because we're asking them to control their emotions and ignore their emotions and suppress them. And so I think, and that's why a lot of men snap. They snap and they go and they kill the woman
right,
because he can't get her back. And now he's like, well, if I can't have you, nobody's going to have you. And
yeah,
because they haven't expressed and processed the emotional journey
yeah.
of, loss.
Very rarely hear about a woman that, I mean, you hear about women that snap, but you don't.
Yeah.
You do every once in a while,
Yeah.
but more often than not, you hear about the man that goes, if
Yeah.
I can't, like you said, if I can't have her, nobody else can, and they go to their home, and everybody in the room kind of gets annihilated,
Yeah.
oftentimes,
Yeah.
and so that's the sad part about not really processing the information. And sometimes I feel like men, again, generalizing, not in touch enough with their feelings. um they're not learned they're not educated to how to deal with their feelings, right?
Right.
So
Well, they're taught from the time they're little to suppress them. Just don't cry. Boys don't cry. Come on, be a man, be a
right,
big boy. And so they are taught that instead of letting them have their emotions. And, we were talking the other day about it then, or it was, I don't know if it was you or my other friend, but then are we turning men into, they're saying we're turning men into weak, feminine creatures, and they're not men, they're not real men. And where do we draw the line? How far do we push them? What do we want as women? You want a protector, you want a guy that's strong and is going to kill the spiders and everything for you. But you want an emotional guy too, who's going to reveal his feelings and talk. to you. So, what choice do we make? We can't, it's almost asking too much of a man to be both.
Well, it's always that balance too. It's like
Yeah.
you can talk about your feelings, you can open up about your feelings, and you can learn to do that and some women are kind of going the other way too, where they're like learning to be more, you know,
Mhm.
pressing them and be more masculine, so it's
Well, or being stronger
longer.
and being able to handle life's difficulties better. So, maybe there will be a better balance for both sexes where women are more independent.
Right.
As you and I know that story, because we're two independent women who don't rely on men for anything. And, not like, decades ago, women went looking for a man to take care of them. I mean, they're breadwinner and she was the homemaker. And now women don't feel that way. We don't have to be. And then of course it helps, it's hindered some men where they don't know what their identity is. I read a meme the other day on Facebook that said, what, we have to be nice now too? In addition to everything, you have to be strong, you have to be tough, you have to be the breadwinner, and now you have to also be nice.
Right.
Which was kind of funny. But yeah, it's a lot to ask, both sexes to find that balance.
Yeah, as times are changing, and our roles are becoming less defined. So that's why we're having these problems. But traditionally, men have, like, at least in my experience, that when I've broken up with someone or we've had a breakup, I process it over a period of about a month or more. And
Depending.
they're like, woo, and then you hear from them, like we said this already, but it's just funny because oftentimes I always used to make this joke too, that like men oftentimes don't even notice, like, we were so happy, what happened,
Yeah.
been saying it all along, like, I would like to do this, I want to talk about that, and they're like, yeah, the clicker,
Watching TV, ignoring you.
the remote.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. A lot of times it is a surprise to the man. Well, and also you have the same issues over and over and over. And then you say, all right, that's it, I'm leaving. And they're like, okay, I'll try harder, I'll do better. And you're like, okay, you give in. And then maybe, after 3 or 4 times of that, finally you're like packing your bags and going. And he's like, wait, what happened? I've been,
Yeah.
And for me, in my experience, my old boyfriends, it almost was like literally the day I let go, they feel it. Like there's a connection there. There's almost an emotional connection that they feel. And they'll call and I'm like, you just waited too long because I'm gone. And you can't even get it back. It's like I've processed that and put it away, and the pain, I don't want to reopen that pain.
And then there's some men that just can't be, and women too, but I've noticed it a little more with men. They can't be alone. Like if you break up with you or you break up with them, they immediately get another girlfriend because
rebound.
they can't be, some men just can't be alone,
Yeah.
I've known people like that too. So
Yep.
I don't think it's the healthiest thing, but if that's the way they deal with,
Yeah. I
life.
wouldn't want to be that rebound girl though. That's not any fun. Because usually it doesn't last. They don't stick around.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I feel like, I feel like, hopefully people will get something out of this podcast that we're doing and what we're sharing, and hopefully men can start, expressing their feelings better. And even while you're in the relationship, because a lot of times they start taking the woman for granted and they don't show her how they feel, and she's just there and they want her there. They don't, they love her, but they don't want to lose her, but they don't express their feelings in the relationship either. And women are like flowers, and we need water. And you need constant, showing that you're loved. It doesn't have to be obsessive or, I don't like clingy, needy people, but someone that just shows they appreciate you and doesn't take you for granted. A lot of times in a marriage, the things that split a couple up are just the man starts taking advantage of the woman, or vice versa. But usually it is the man, he's not taking out the trash. He's not doing his share of chores. I remember in my marriage, I used to go over and visit my boyfriend, and his house was always spotless. And then we got engaged, and then we got married. And then all of a sudden his socks are laying on the floor. He'd eat dinner in front of the TV and the plates left there. And, about a month into it, I'm like, you need to clean up your messes. Cause if you think I'm picking those up, you married, I'm your wife, not your maid. So his solution was he hired us a maid.
Okay, that's
So I'm
good.
like, oh, you lazy man. But
Sure.
anyway, so he did at least hire a maid, but it was really insulting to me. I was very hurt because I thought, you didn't marry a maid, you married a wife.
Right. Yeah.
So,
There's some men, I had a boyfriend once that like jump through hoops to get you, I mean, like,
oh yeah.
do
Oh yeah.
really went 150%. And then as soon as they get you, they're like, what happened? They're like,
Truth comes out who
out.
they really are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because men, I think, are emotionally very lazy anyway. And they tend to, not all of them, some men are very ambitious, but in the home life, they're kind of lazy. They don't do things they don't like to do. Who likes to take out trash? Who likes to do laundry? Who likes to whatever, clean up messes or, clean? Nobody likes to do that. So I think a lot of men, they just traditionally think the woman should be doing all that, where they're very capable of pitching in and doing it too. And now when the woman works too, it's only fair that the man does half the housework. And
Yeah. Or,
cooking.
whatever your deal is, you may have a
Yeah.
deal set up. Like, I'm going to be working and
That's my deal. If I'm working and you're working, you do have the housework or hire the maid. Like my husband, he was pretty smart that way though. Because like immediately we had a maid and I'm like, well, okay.
Yeah. If you don't want to do it, then you better pay someone to do it,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I was like,
But
okay.
I think the point of this is that, there can be some middle ground too. Like we were saying, it's like
Yeah.
men
Yeah.
don't have to become like crying all the time, but it's just at least talking about your emotions is
And how let
it's
your
not,
feelings out.
yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's a healthy thing. A very
Well, and in a breakup, because I think that's a lot. As men go through life, they have more than one breakup unless they get married, and they continue to get more and more and more stifled. So the baggage is so heavy as they get older that they really can't have a healthy emotional relationship with someone else. So
That's true.
it's healthy for them to talk it out, feel it, and take responsibility for what your part in there, because a lot of times you blame the other person.
Sure.
But you need to really think, well, I could have done this better. I could have handled this better. And maybe they would have felt better, So I think sometimes the ego gets in the way in relationships and we don't, consider the other person's feelings too and their point of view.
Yeah. And if you want to be with, try to have a healthy relationship with somebody, then you could do this process. But if you just don't care and you just want to go next,
Right.
That's your thing,
Yeah. And some people, I don't think really anyone wants that, but some people, they haven't done emotional work that's even deeper than just between them. It might be childhood traumas or something that they need to do more emotional work. And a lot of people are very disconnected. I know, I've had my moments of being very disconnected in a relationship, and it was easy to walk away. I remember one guy, he was a rock star and I suspected he had cheated on me when he went on tour. And I called him and I said, okay, you got to come over. We're going to talk. And I went to the mall and shopped with my girlfriend. And then I had to go back home to meet him. I met him and he admitted it. He goes, yeah, I had one incident. And I was like, okay, I'm done with you. And then I went back to the mall shopping. I'm like, that was really disconnected and really like, it was weird. I look back at it and I'm like, wow, and he kept trying to get me back for the next year. Like he was just kept calling and coming over and I'm sorry, I was on tour and I'm like, whatever. So I don't know. Sometimes women can be very disconnected themselves too.
That's true too. And I guess women can do that thing too about next, 'cause
Yeah.
we
And
go,
maybe for self-protection, maybe I was just protecting myself because that's the only time that I knew of that I had been cheated on. And it was really hard to think. It was hard, but it wasn't, because he was a famous rock star and I kind of expected it when he went, but the fact that he did it because we had a very nice relationship was very disappointing. So anyway, maybe it's self-protection. I'm sure that's why guys do it too. So.
I agree. I mean, yeah, I think they don't even think about it. It's not like it's a methodical thing. It's just, they kind of subconsciously do that to protect themselves,
Yeah.
And
I want to deal with it.
And men aren't like women, where usually men are not like women where they'll listen to their buddy. Like, if a guy to his friend, I'd be like, oh, shut up already. You know,
they're like, suck it up. Let's go have a beer. Let's go talk. I have a couple guy friends though that rely on me, and I've gone through breakups,
sure.
and I've been their ear for them, and I think it was healthier for them too, because then they went on and had other relationships.
I agree. I've done that a couple times for guys too. And I remember I was very surprised. I'm like, okay, this is good, but my one particular friend was a little bit older. So he kind of had lived life, he wasn't a young 20 something, so
Trying to figure things out.
yeah. So that's that.
Yeah.
So what do you think the moral of the story of
So,
it?
okay. So our advice would be to, if you go through a breakup, and even if it's your fault, I do think you need to think about why you were in that relationship. What did you, because there's always, Dr. Phil, what's in it for you? What were you getting out of that relationship? And were you just using that person as your security blanket for a while because you wanted company? Was it a casual thing where, I dated guys casually where we just went on to dinners and Comedy Store, and we were really just having fun. We liked each other, but we weren't serious. We never got heavily involved. And so, was it that you didn't feel for that person? Like, I think no matter what, when you end a relationship, both of you should examine it and think about what were you looking for? And what are you looking for in the next one? And then what went wrong about it? Why didn't you want to stay with that person?
Yeah.
Or why didn't they want to stay with you? And sometimes it's just the person's a jerk and they're using you. And it's good to know too, so you can recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thought on it.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting in these times, like, because everybody's roles are changing too. So it's kind of interesting to try to dissect it and see, because like you said, which we could probably talk on another podcast, but it's like now, what we are expecting from each other is different than like our parents' generation.
And I would say some guys are a little shy and timid too to approach women. And I would say, go ahead and talk to her and be her friend and, make her feel special. That's what women want. We want to feel special. We want to feel like, you went out of your way because you like us, me, not other women. And, some kind of, that's what you want. You want to be the one. You want to be the only one. So, if you have a crush on a woman, or you feel like, even if you feel like she's out of your league, sometimes you don't know what a woman's looking for. You think, the woman wants a guy with a lot of money, with a sports car and nice house or whatever. And sometimes she just wants someone to be nice to her.
Right.
Just someone to treasure her. We want to feel treasured. So
a little bit of intellectual stimulation never hurts either.
That if that's definitely on my list. If you can have a conversation, carry on a conversation and listen to her. Listen to what she said.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's I always joke, like I said, you've been complaining all along, and then you're out the door and they're like, what happened? We were so happy.
I thought everything was fine.
Time to happen.
Yeah. But I do think that comes into men not being emotionally connected too, where they don't want to, like, how was your day? They just want to hear, it was great. They don't want to hear, oh my gosh, this person did this. And they don't really want to sit there and have to listen and process it and empathize and like,
they don't want details. They just want
just like, okay, babe, good, good luck tomorrow or whatever. They don't really want to invest emotionally.
Right.
And I think that's what creates intimacy. And that's why girlfriends are such, so connected.
Yeah.
Whereas guys connect through like sports and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's true. I used to have this one woman, older married woman, would advise me. She's like, that's what your girlfriends are for. Don't keep telling your boyfriend all that stuff.
That's true. Vent to your girlfriends too.
So finally I learned,
Yeah. Well, you want your man to be a little, to listen to you and care about your day in, day out complaints.
Yeah. Anyways, well, it was good talking to you, and we'll investigate this again next time, right? And
we'll talk more. And if you guys have any hints or ideas, please share in the comments below what you think about why men and women process breaking up differently, why we handle it differently, and how we can handle it better. What do you do to ease the pain?
Yeah. Both sides. We want to hear from men and women, like, how do you handle your breakups? And hopefully there hasn't been that many, but how do you handle a breakup?
Yeah. So yeah, so thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time. Okay, bye.